Everyone needs a little hero. Chapter 20. Trust Talk. Hero spent the better part of the night stretching, loosening his tight muscles from his long day of work. He managed to visit all of his friends in one day, hoofing it from the first floor to the 8th in record time. Now, thankfully, it was time to rest. Being a hero was exhausting, but well worth the effort. He loved seeing the smiling faces of the humans he helped. It was heartwarming to know so many wonderful, kind people were in the world. What made Hero more excited, however, was getting his partner in crime back. Ray had slowly but surely recovered from his injury, enough to climb and maneuver properly, and, finally, the two of them would be off helping people in the building. Hero wasn't sure where their adventures and helping work would take them, but he was sure they could do a lot of good for both the borrower and human community. He drifted off to sleep with these thoughts fueling his dreams. The next morning, stiff but smiling, Hero jumped out of bed, stretched, and gathered up his things to head out for the day. The teenage borrower had barely taken 3 steps out of his room when he spotted his father sitting grimly at the table. No one was nearby, but his father looked contemplative, like he was mulling over something serious. With his 6th sense, Casper, Hero's father, turned his head toward his son and smiled warily.
"Good morning, Hero. Why are you off to so early?"
he asked, turning in the wire and thread chair to face his son.
Morning, Dad. I was just going to see some friends. We were going to go exploring today,"
said Hero, wincing internally at his half-truths and lies.
"Is one of those friends Ray, perchance?"
asked Casper, his blue eyes hardening like cold stone. Hero knew his face gave it away the moment his father nodded in his slow, signature way.
Well, we were going to make up and explore some of the older passages and unused apartments,"
said Hero, panicking and adjusting his bag rather than wring his hands nervously.
"Dad, I know you said to be careful with their family, but we're good friends and—"
"It's all right,"
interrupted Casper. Stunned, Hero waited for his father to follow up, which he did.
"I suspected you two would get along from the moment he came through the door, and some of the community commented on your work, helping others with Ray at your side."
You did?"
asked Hero. His father merely nodded before standing up from his seat. Oh no. Did he find out about his secret and Ashlyn talking to him? The slumber party? How could he know? Did he know?
"I would like to accompany you to Soren's home. I have a few things I want to discuss with him."
Hero's jaw nearly hit the ground. He was safe. His father didn't know about him talking to Ashlyn, and it didn't seem like he knew about the slumber party with Ray. Hero felt his stomach drop all the same. Go with him? Out in the open? Or just to Ashlyn's home to see Soren? Hero hoped to talk to Ashlyn again, but it would have to wait. Without choice, Casper gathered his borrowing bag, book, and pen dagger before the two of them set off into the rafters. Hero wanted to ask his father why he suddenly wanted to talk to Soren. The last time Soren came over was after the attack Ray told him about a few weeks ago. Was this a social call? No. Hero didn't think so, at least. There was something heavy in the air around his father that loomed like the air before a heavy rain. What was wrong? The teen couldn't work up the courage to ask his father before they arrived at the secure line that led down to the kitchen. While Hero knew it was completely safe, he watched as his father skillfully took out his own line and carefully descended it. Hero followed a few moments later and landed beside his father, who had already pulled out his secondary line and was crouched by the electrical cover, peering out and listening. The way his hip lamp illuminated his features made Casper look alert and wary. Casper turned to his middle son and gave him a keen look.
Hero, do you trust Soren and his family? Do you believe them to be honest borrowers? Asked Casper.
Hero wondered why his father would ask him such a question, but responded without hesitation, all the same. Yes, I believe they're honest. I don't think they lie about anything. I mean, they told you about being seen, right? Asked Hero, making sure he didn't reveal more than he knew about Soren's family's experience outside of the walls than what Ray might have told him. Casper nodded in agreement, but said nothing else. With a quick twist of his wrist, the lamp extinguished, and he cracked the cover loose. Immediately, they heard conversation. I'm just worried about you leaving, Soren. I don't want you to get ambushed on your way to talk to them, said Ashlyn. The distant voice told Hero that they were in the living room. Hero strained his ears, but couldn't hear what Soren was saying, though the word ambushed was alarming. Fine, but you know what I'm going to say, said Ashlyn, whose voice was softer, but much closer than before.
Hero, get back,
hissed Casper, as he pulled Hero away from the cover a few more forceful steps.
Stay behind me.
With a nod, Hero and his father stepped back ever so slightly and continued to listen. Hero could now hear Ashlyn's footsteps as she approached the counter. Yes, I know what you'll say. Back in an hour, or you'll worry, said Soren clearly. I'll worry no matter what, stated Ashlyn. Tension and worry encompassed every word she spoke. Then I'll be back no matter what, countered Soren. Hero's heart jumped into his throat. His legs were shaking. This was the closest he had been to a human he was friends with while his father was standing beside him. His father was obviously nervous at being so close to Soren's home, his body being taut, like a drawn bowstring. He watched his father's reaction as light flooded into the wall. His father's face was pale, and a single bead of sweat dripped down his temple. Instinctually, Casper pulled Hero behind him and took a few more steps backward, away from the light, as he pulled out his dagger, as if he expected fingers to reach in and grab him. A lean shadow stepped through the cover, and Soren came into view. The light behind him illuminated his hazel eyes, making them look like they were glowing. Hook and lamp on his hip, he stopped dead in his tracks and reached for his own dagger as he spotted the two forms in the darkness. Soren's keen eyes adjusted to the light, and recognition gleamed in them. Oh, he said reactively, as recognition struck him. Hero saw his father's eyes dart from Soren to the entrance. Soren, everything okay? Asked Ashlyn. Hero felt his father stiffen as he maintained eye contact with Soren. Soren shook himself free from his temporary stun and looked back over his shoulder at Ashlyn, who was undoubtedly waiting for him to vanish completely into the wall before walking away. No, everything is fine. I'll be right back, he said as he stepped through the door and closed the electrical cover behind him, leaving the three of them in the darkness and the warm lamp light on Soren's hip. After a minute, Hero's father cleared his throat and lowered his dagger slowly, but did not sheath it.
Thank you for not revealing us,
said Casper quietly. Soren, also lowering his dagger and, like Casper, not sheathing it, spoke up. Of course, I try not to impose my way of life on anyone, said Soren. The tension was tangible between them, and and Hero had no idea what was going on, but it was obviously not good. Soren's body relaxed ever so slightly as he spotted Hero just behind Casper's broad, imposing shoulders. Relaxing a bit himself, Casper straightened up and spoke.
I just came to talk,
explained Casper diplomatically. Hero knew this tone. This was how he got when he was weighing the options and trying to make a decision about something. Really? Is that the only reason why you came here? Or is it something else? Something to do with the borrower rules and keeping to myself as I said I would? Asked Soren. There was something knowing in his voice. Whatever these two were privy to, Hero had no idea. What he did know was that his father was serious about the rules, and that this was probably the decision he was mulling over in the kitchen.
just a conversation about last night. That's why I came,
said Casper, voice deep and hollow.
Cap came and told me what happened.
And what exactly was that? Spat Soren, his knuckles whitening as they tightened around his dagger.
That he was borrowing, and that Ashlyn attacked him, put him in a jar and threatened to crush him. That he barely escaped with his life, and that Ashlyn is dangerous,
stated Casper. Hero had seen Soren worried and apprehensive, a spark of fear and anxiety in his eyes. Never had he seen Soren tense and grow angry, face contorting in the lamplight to a defensive rage.
He said that?
Demanded Soren.
And you believed him?
Soren took an aggressive step forward, which made Hero take an involuntary step backward while his father remained an immovable force. Soren, in this light, looked truly scary to Hero for the first time since he had known the borrower.
That's why I'm here, to sort out the truth,
clarified Casper. I told you that we would stay back from the community after the last time we were attacked, said Soren sternly. We haven't been back, and we haven't put anyone in danger.
Cap showed me the bruises, Soren,
said Casper.
And you said Ashlyn would just ignore us borrowers if she saw us.
She would have ignored him, but she was provoked into action. He was attacking Ray, and she stepped in to save him. I don't deny it, she went a bit far, but she was protecting my family, argued Soren. Casper's eyes narrowed.
I assume you have proof of the attack?
Asked Casper quietly. Hero watched Soren bristle and, without a word to Casper, opened the electrical cover to his left and stepped out onto the counter.
Ashlyn,
called Soren. The footsteps, which were retreating, returned hurriedly. Hero watched his dad shudder and once again raise his dagger. Casper immediately pushed Hero back further from the outlet.
Hero, if something happens to me, you need to run, understand? You get out of here, and go straight back home to tell the others,
commanded Casper hastily in his instructive tone. Hero, heart in his throat, barely uttered a yes before they heard the conversation just outside of the walls continue. Soren, is everything okay? Asked Ashlyn.
Would you go and get Ray for me, please?
Asked Soren. Hero didn't get it. Were they attacked again? They must have been, right? Bruises, ambushed. Their mention of the rules in the last attack. Did that mean... was Ray hurt again? From what it sounded like, Ashlyn grabbed someone and put them in a jar. But how could that be? She was so sweet and caring. Ashlyn was gentle. Ashlyn saw borrowers as people. She wouldn't just grab someone and try to hurt them. Ashlyn was one of the good humans. Right? In a moment, Soren returned to the walls with Ray by his side. Hero felt his heart sink as he noticed Ray's split lip and the bruises on his face. Soren indignantly stood beside his brother and deadpan stared Casper. Unlike last time, however, he kept the electrical cover open, leaving the light streaming in through the walls. "Ray, how did you get hurt?" asked Soren. Hero watched as Ray's jaw clenched. The borrower teen, round-faced and sandy brown blonde hair flopping to the side as he self-consciously brushed it to the side to try and hide one of the bruises. Took in a calming breath before spotting Hero. He smiled at his friend, before Ray responded to his brother. "I was attacked last night by a borrower," said Ray. He maintained eye contact with Casper, which Hero thought was both bold and telling, before continuing. "I went to get a paperclip from the drawer, and he ambushed me. He was hiding behind the sugar dish over there. He got me in the gut before giving me this." Ray lifted his shirt to reveal several borrower fist-sized bruises on his torso. "You didn't see him?" asked Casper. "No, I thought we were home alone," said Ray. Hero took a breath and listened to his friend speak. He couldn't hear any waver in Ray's voice. "And where were you?" Casper asked. Soren, who tensed at the question, took a breath before responding. "Ashlyn and I went out to the movies on a date. We took all the precautions and no one saw me," admitted Soren. Casper bristled as he heard Soren's admission, but said nothing. As they all continued to stare one another down, Casper trying to determine whether Soren and Ray were being dishonest. Everyone jumped when they heard Ashlyn's voice cut through the tense silence. Like shattering glass, her voice was precise and sharp. "Soren, are you talking to someone?" asked Ashlyn. Soren, who hadn't left the entry to the human world, said nothing. Hero's heart continued to skip like a stone across water. Obviously, Soren was visibly torn between keeping his word but not revealing the location of any of the borrowers and responding to Ashlyn truthfully. Ashlyn seemed to have guessed what was going on in the walls inches from her. Ashlyn took the initiative and spoke carefully, addressing no one in particular, but speaking all the same. "Look, I don't know who you are, but please don't blame Soren or his brothers, okay? It was me. I acted rashly, and I'm sorry," apologized Ashlyn. This act of simply addressing him, Casper, even though he was completely hidden, made him shiver. Hero peered around his father's shoulder to watch Soren and Ray. What was Soren going to do? Casper, unmoving, simply listened as Ashlyn continued to speak. "I get it. I'm a terrifying human, and I shouldn't have even considered using my size as an advantage. I shouldn't have grabbed that borrower, but just let me ask you something. What would you do? What would you be willing to do to protect your family? What would you do if it was happening right in front of you? Anything, right? You would do anything to keep them safe." At this, Casper turned his eyes to the light of the entrance by the electrical cover. There was an extraordinarily long pause before Ashlyn spoke once again. "I am not your enemy. I don't want to hurt anyone. I don't want anyone to get in trouble. I am not looking to capture anyone or turn them into pets or sick stuff like that," Ashlyn stated. "I am not your enemy, but you can't tell me that you wouldn't do the same thing if you were in my shoes. I will do anything to keep them safe, any of you safe, unless you try to hurt them. So, please, don't hold this over them." Another agonizing silence settled in the air before Soren spoke. I was just about to come and talk to you about the incident, said Soren softly. I don't know what else we can do. We removed ourselves from the community. We stayed on our own with Ashlyn. Still, they, Cap, being one of them, came after us. There's nothing you can do, said Casper. Soren exhaled a pent-up sigh of frustration and opened his mouth to speak when Casper continued. But there's something I can do, if you want. Your secret about your affiliation with the Ashlyn will get out, but it may protect you and your family. Hero knew immediately what his father was suggesting, and it was the harshest punishment the community could perform. What? Asked Soren suspiciously. Banishment, stated Casper. Soren looked stunned at the word. I don't believe I know who the others are, but I can tell them to leave or never bother you again. It doesn't guarantee your safety, but it will show a stance on the matter. Borrowers attacking borrowers is unacceptable, regardless of circumstance. Banishment seems harsh, but it's probably the safest thing for our family. Tell them to leave us alone, or else. That's all I ask, said Soren. Very well, stated Casper in return. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Hero and Ray have some exploring to do. Hero felt his stomach drop into his shoes as his heart simultaneously throbbed in his throat. Would Ray say something? Hero prayed he wouldn't, and, to his relief, Ray simply tensed and nodded. Yeah. Let me grab my things, said Ray, spotting the look on Hero's features. As he left, Soren addressed Casper once again. So, you believe me? Asked Soren. Casper merely nodded, obviously tense. As a sign of good faith, he sheathed his dagger. I can hear it in all of your voices, he said. And from what I've seen while observing your family. Soren nodded, sheathed his own dagger, and stepped forward to shake Casper's hand, which he took after a moment's pause to make sure no looming and curious fingers would peek through the opened electrical cover. Once Ray returned and stepped up to Hero, Soren uttered the same words as Ashlyn did not too long before. 1 hour, okay? Then you need to be back, said Soren. Ray nodded and stood beside his friend as he climbed, Casper ascending the line last. They waited until Casper was out of earshot before speaking freely. Having the first moment alone, Hero muttered a hushed thanks to Ray. No problem. Sorry about all that, Ray muttered. That was intense. I know. My dad has only banished a few borrowers before, and that was because they were seen and tried to keep it from the community, said Hero. And thanks for playing along. I wanted to come on my own, but Dad insisted. It's okay, Ray replied. It's nice to get out from time to time. I do have to be back in an hour, though. So, what are we exploring? New apartments, and maybe some new humans to help, said Hero. Ray gave him a long stare before Hero continued explaining. Don't worry, I remember the rules. No talking. Satisfied, the two boys headed off to the new apartments to observe and evaluate. But Hero had another secret objective. He knew humans could be dangerous, but was more determined now than ever to prove it to himself, It felt like his belief was shaken at hearing that Ashlyn had turned so quickly from a gentle giant to a tyrannical terror. Ashlyn acted in defense for her family. She would never hurt Soren or Ray or Dorian or Maisie. And Hero knew the same was true for other humans. At least, he thought he knew.